Dear children, today we are going to learn about the significance of the northern plains of India. The northern plains are among the most level and extensive plains in the world. They are of immense significance due to the following reasons. The first reason is favorable for human settlement. The northern plains are the most favorable for human settlement as they are endowed with fertile soil, numerous rivers and favorable climate. Fertile soil because there are perennial rivers which bring down the topsoil from the mountain and deposit them on the banks of the river, and that transported soil is also called alluvial soil, which is very fertile. And there are numerous rivers, there are many rivers. Himalayan rivers are there, and also there are perennial rivers for which the source is the Himalayas. That is why these plains support one of the most densely populated regions of the world. This plain has a population greater than that of the whole of the USA, which has about 10 times more area than the northern plains. The second significance is rich agricultural land. The fertile soils, perennial water resources and favorable made the northern plains rich agricultural land. Many multipurpose dams have been constructed across some of the rivers to provide water for irrigation and to generate electricity. Multipurpose dams means the dams which are used for the purpose of irrigation as well as for the purpose of generation of electricity. In fact, the use of irrigation and modern facilities has made Punjab, Haryana and Western Uttar Pradesh the granaries of India. Of course, these places have been called the granaries of India, especially Punjab has been called the granary of India. The third significance is socio-religious significance. The northern plains have been socially and religiously quite significant. Vast literature, art and architecture and sacred rivers. The Ganga has been the sacred river par excellence. Many religious and historical cities such as Haridwar, Ayodhya, Varanasi, Allahabad, Mathura and Patna are situated along the rivers of the northern plains. The regions of Buddha, that is Buddhism, and Mahavira, Jainism, flourished in these plains. The fourth significance is transport and communication facilities. The plains are almost level with average elevation varying from 200 meter to 290 meter above sea level. This even surface allows for construction of roadways and railways. The rivers in the plains are navigable, which allow easy transportation and thus promote trade and commerce. The flatness of the land also allows easy access for communication facilities. Northern plains are even, whereas when compared to the southern India, of course, the northern India is not plain because it is a plateau, it is a Deccan plateau, and we find many mountains and there are many waterfalls. The Peninsular Plateau. The Peninsular Plateau is one of the physiographic divisions of India. The Peninsular Plateau is the largest and the oldest of all the physiographic divisions. It has an elevation of 600 to 900 meter with an area of 1.6 million square kilometers. Its northwest limit is marked by the Aravalli Range. Its southern extreme has the raised Bundelkhand Plateau. At its western and eastern ends are the Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats respectively. The plateau is largely a stable terrain, though volcanic eruptions have occurred in some areas of northwest Deccan. Dear children, before we go into this, let us have the map of India, physical map of India, and as we go through the explanation, let us have a look even on the map of India. The plateau land can be divided as follows. The first one, the central plateau. The upland of central India with the Ganga to its north has the Kaimur-Michael range to its east, the Aravallis and the Kutch to its west, and the Vindhyas and Satpura ranges to its south. This is the location of central plateaus. The central plateau comprises, first one, the 250 to 500 meter high Mewar upland composed of shales, limestones and sandstones. Second one, the 100 to 300 meter high Bundelkhand upland stretching between the river Yamuna and the Vindhyas. The northern plains join this upland. The Malwa Plateau in Madhya Pradesh is formed by lava flows. It lies north of the Vindhya range. The plateau is flat topped and has hills covered by forest. The plateau is broken by ravines mainly in the Chambal, Yamuna and Banas valleys. Second one, the eastern plateaus. These lie to the northeast of the Malwa Plateau. They comprise the Bhagelkhand Plateau, through which flow the Rihan and Son rivers. It is marked by synclinal valleys and anticlinal hills. The Chota Nagpur Plateau in Jharkhand lies to the east of Bundelkhand. The Chota Nagpur Plateau is 700 meter high and has steep borders. Its main rivers are the Damodar and the Subarnarekha. The Chota Nagpur Plateau consists of the Ranchi Plateau in the south, the Hazaribagh Plateau in the north, and the Rajmal Hills in the northeast. This region is rich in mineral resources and is known as the Rur of India. To the south of the Bundelkhand, it is the Bestar or Dandakaranya upland, which becomes rugged and forested in its south. Beyond the Chota Nagpur Plateau is the Meghalaya Plateau. The third one, the Kathiawar and Kutch. These peninsulas are joined to the peninsular plateaus by Gujarat plains. Deccan lavas make up the Kathiawar region. The fourth plateau, the Deccan Plateau is triangular in shape and is India's largest plateau. It occupies land between western and eastern Ghats and the south of the Mahadev, Michael and Satpura ranges. The Deccan Plateau has the following features. The first feature, the northern part of the Deccan Plateau has the Maharashtra Plateau, composed of lava sheets and displaying flat and steep hills, ridges and shallow broad valleys. The second feature, the Telangana Plateau has hilly and forest covered northern parts and a plain land with small hills and minor depressions in its southern portion. The third feature, the Karnataka Plateau, forming the middle part of the Deccan Plateau, rises to the southwest and joins the Nilgiri Hills. Its northern area, less than 600 meters, has the Krishna River flowing through the east. The southern area of the Karnataka Plateau is higher with an average elevation of 600 to 900 meters. It has the Kaveri River running through its southeast. The fourth feature, the Deccan Plateau displays a suddenly narrowing of land below the Karnataka Plateau. Here it comprises uplands made by the hills of Palni, Nilgiri, Cardamom and Annamalai. It is bordered on its sides by the Tamil Nadu and Kerala plains. The fifth plateau, the Northeastern Plateau. It is an extension of the main peninsular plateau and comprises the Meghalaya Plateau consisting of the Garo, Khasi and Jaintia hills. These hills have been named after the tribal groups which inhabit this region. This region receives maximum rainfall from the southwest monsoon. The Meghalaya Plateau is rich in mineral resources like coal, iron ore, limestone and uranium. The next point, the Peninsular Mountains. The mountains of peninsular India can be classified as follows. The first one, the Western Ghats. These Western Ghats are also called the Sahyadris. About 1600 km long and with an average elevation of 900 to 1100 meter, they run along the west coast from the south of the Tapti or Tapi river valley to Kanyakumari. Important peaks include the Salhar peak 1567 meter and Kalsubhai peak 1646 meter in the northern part and those exceeding a height of 2400 meter above sea level, mainly the Vembadi Shola 2505 meter in the Palni hills, Makurti 2554 meter and Doddabetta 2637 meter in Nilgiris and the Annaimadi 2695 meter in the Annamalai hills. The Deccan Trap constitutes the northern portion of the Ghats, which around Mumbai exposes flat-topped ridges. Near Mysore, the Ghats recede from the coast. The meeting point of the western and the eastern Ghats in the Nilgiri hills has the highest point at Doddabetta peak. A break in the Western Ghats is in the form of a Palghat Gap south of the Nilgiris. Steep hills constitute the Western Ghats south of the Palghat Gap. These hills are the Annamalai, the top of which is plateau. The second one, the Palni, and the third one is the Cardamom. The main rivers of the Western Ghats, such as the Godavari, Kaveri and Krishna, flow eastwards and fall into the Bay of Bengal. The second mountain, Eastern Ghats. These irregular hills ranges stretches from the northern Odisha to the Nilgiris across coastal Andhra. They have an average elevation of 600 meter above sea level and the highest peak is Mahendragiri, which is 1500 meter in Andhra Pradesh. The ranges are uniform in their northern portion up to Krishna river valley, but are characterized by individual ranges as one goes farther. The third range, the Vindhya range, running from Sasaram in Bihar in the east to Jobat in Gujarat, the west. The fairly continuous range separates northern India from the southern mainland. Its average elevation is over 600 meter in the center, but only around 500 meters in the east and the west. Mostly composed of sandstone, quartzites, and shales. It is lava-ridden in the west. The fourth range, the Satpura range. The range extends from the Narmada Valley in the north to the Tapti Valley in the south. In the west, it comprises Rajpipla Hills of Gujarat in the west and Panchamari, Ranchi Upland, Hazaribagh Hills. The Maikala Range in the east. Its northern and southern borders are composed of sandstone. Eastern section is called the Maikal Plateau. Average elevation is 1030 meters above mean sea level. The fifth one, the Aravalli Range. The 800 kilometer long range stretching from the northeast to the southwest of India separates the semi-desert region of Rajasthan from the fertile Udaipur and Jaipur regions. It constitutes one of the oldest fold mountain ranges of the world. It has a height of 400 meters in its northern stretch, but rises above 900 meters elsewhere. The Guru Shikhar peak, 1722 meters of the Abu Hills, is the highest point of the range. Though the mountains are said to reach till Gujarat in the south and close to Delhi in the north, they actually extend beyond in both directions. The Delhi Ridge is included as the Aravalli's northernmost